what a quantum memory recalibrator is? If not, stick around because I'm going to share a spiritual gift that I found inside of my client's Akashic records in case it unlocks and activates something within your templates as well. I went into her energy field. I saw her talking to someone. It might have been a potential client in the future or family member or friend, but they have gone through a lot in their life at previous chapters. And she told the person, come sit in my chair. And I don't know if you've ever seen red light therapy. Sometimes metaphysical shops will have it where you're like laying back and there's all these different lights that correlate with your chakra system. And so when she was sitting there, my client was sitting behind her with her hands and was going like this over her head. And what that was doing was changing the water density in her client's body in order to give her that sense of calm and peace, almost like you would be in a nice warm bath if you're doing a salt bath, or how you feel when you're in the pool or the ocean. It was helping calm down her central nervous system. Her higher self said that with this gift, what she's able to do is when we experience PTSD and trauma in life, it typically comes with a big emotional response, whether that is something that's expressed externally or internally. Sometimes it's suppressing or repressing things as well. It activates our central nervous system, and the trauma PTSD gets entangled with the emotions, and then with your CNS getting activated and adrenaline and cortisol coming through, all three of those intertwine with one another and then become a memory. Now, as you go through life, if you have certain events that make you feel in your body like that original event, it will make these sub-memories that have the same type of correlations. And every time you experience something similar, it creates a string of memories. A lot of times people are trepidatious about sifting through their memories and doing shadow work because it is really activating, especially if you have a string of them like that, because it's not just one event that's getting triggered, it's multitudes of them at once. And so you're going to have a big emotional response, or you're going to have a lot of cortisol and adrenaline pumping through your body because all of the events are re-happening at one time when you're seemingly just looking at one that you're working on. Your brain and your subconscious is categorizing them as one lump event, even though they're all separate from one another. So what my client is able to do is take one of those said memories and smooth the edges and not make it so sharp when people go in to do trauma work or when they're doing shadow work. It is helping them feel more calm and ease with their emotions, helping their central nervous system relax, so that way they can recalibrate that memory within them, because the memory doesn't necessarily go away, but the reactions that we have to them, we can shift those and alchemize them within self. Most of the behavioral patterns and triggers and things that keep us stuck in adulthood typically go back to childhood. That is where they first start, and then we have this sequence that continues, and we get in these patterns, and sometimes they're a little bit difficult to break out of. So if you can find the origin point to them, that is when you can clear it out in totality. So she's able to find the string of memories within persons and figure out where it began in the first place. A couple different ways that you could do a session with somebody. When persons are giving Reiki sessions, either in person or on Zoom, oftentimes they're not actually talking to the person. Sometimes they do, and you're doing kind of talk therapy at the same time. But then there's other sessions where all you're doing is just the energy healing work with your healing hands. And you're doing quantum things within persons. And then there's another version that I do with people, and this is where we get on Zoom and we're talking to one another the whole time. So I said either one of those is going to be applicable. It depends on you as a practitioner and what you feel would be best for your clientele. When she is able to specifically go back in childhood, because not all memories go back to childhood, but the majority of them, okay? So when she is able to go back there and find that inner child, I told her that looking up the law of revision is going to be really beneficial. This is where you're going back and rewriting the narratives of your past. And I'm going to give an example of this, because when I was talking to her higher self, I said, well, don't you think that it would be a little traumatic to go back with the inner children and say, hey, let's just create a whole new story of what happened, what you wanted to happen in childhood. Let's make it really fun and magical and happy, and you had all the things that you needed and that you wanted. To me, I would feel like, no, I didn't. That's not true. And it would be even more triggering for me as a person. But her higher self said, well, that's how you work. That's not how everybody works. There are a lot of children out there that have templates that do really well with the law of revision, and this is them building a whole new imaginative scape, and that really will shift them right now and in the future. Now, I'm going to share where the law of revision really helps me. And I was driving one day, and I was thinking about when I talk to my clients in the past, I would always reference back to when I had a lot of lack mentality and I didn't have a lot of money growing up, and I was using that as an example to showcase, hey, I got myself out of those places and spaces. But my higher self said, it's lovely that you're doing that, but sometimes you're actually keeping your inner children stuck in those old paradigms, because you're speaking that over their existence of, wow, we were so poor and had such a difficult time, and all these different things, even though I'm out of that reality now. And I said, oh wow, I don't want to speak those things over them anymore. And when I started talking to my inner children when I was on that drive, I said, you know what, I know that I'm going to be a millionaire. I have always known that ever since I was a child. All of a sudden I said, you know what, actually, I am already a millionaire, because I used to own a doggy daycare for 7 years, and in the last year we did $400,000 in sales. And accumulating all of that together, I had $1 million flow through my bank account. Now, did I keep all of that? Technically, there was a lot of operation expenses and paying employees and equipment and all these different things, but I did have $1 million flow through my bank account. And I said, oh, I've always been a millionaire, even when I was a child, because time's not linear, and I foresaw that, and I can see more coming through. My inner children were like, oh, wait a minute, we were as a child. And so that law of revision helped me be able to have that conscious awareness shift of saying, hey, let's go back and change our narrative of we've always been this person. And then I was able to perceive the doggy daycare in a different manner and say, oh wait, that's already happened. But I wouldn't have been able to see that without doing the law of revision part. So I do recommend doing some deep dives on that. Also, what I saw that she was able to do was actually astral project herself into somebody's energy body, go into their heart chakra, their heart space, pull it up like a cylinder, and spin the wheel and pluck out the memories that need the recalibration. And it kind of looked like a Polaroid picture. And once she pulls that out, she's actually able to astral project herself into that specific memory in real time. Seeing that inner child back in the timeline where those things were happening, and she is able to do that law of revision and changing that narrative and that story so it shifts the person in the here and now. It's also able to take the cords that have been created from PTSD and trauma, emotions, and the central nervous system being activated, and untie them from one another. So I said the best thing to study right now is how the central nervous system affects us, how memories affect us, PTSD and trauma, inner child healing, and processing emotions. I would love to hear in the comments if this resonated with you, if it unlocked and activated something as well, and I hope you have a super magical day.